Hello, fellow book lovers, both readers and writers. I am Matty Dalrymple. I write the Ann Kinnear Suspense Novels and Suspense Shorts and the Lizzy Ballard Thrillers, and I also write, speak, podcast, and consult on the writing craft and the publishing voyage as the indie author. And you can find out more about me and my work at mattydalrymple.com and at theindyauthor.com. And this is my video series, What I Learned, where I asked authors 2 questions related to their latest book. What did they learn from their latest book that they'd like to share with their fellow authors, and what did they learn from their latest book that they'd like to share with their fellow readers? And so today I am here with Liz Milliron. Hey, Liz, how are you doing?
Hey, hi, Matty. Thanks for having me.
I am pleased to have you here. To give our viewers a little bit of background on you, Liz Milliron is the author of the Laurel Highlands Mysteries series set in the scenic Laurel Highlands of Pennsylvania, including the latest installment, Lie Down with Dogs. She's also the author of the Homefront Mysteries set in Buffalo, New York during the early years of World War II. Liz lives outside Pittsburgh with her husband and a very spoiled retired racer, Greyhound. And her latest book is The Truth We Hide, the 4th book in the Homefront series. And so today I'm asking Liz the 2 What I Learned questions, starting with, Liz, what did you learn from The Truth We Hide that you'd like to share with your fellow authors?
The history is hard. And people who write historicals know that. I mean, there's a lot of research in historicals, right? You got to get the language right, and you got to get the time period right, and the clothes and all the other stuff. But The Truth We Hide, I kind of explored homophobia in the 40s. And that's a very relevant topic for today. We still have a lot of problems with equality in a lot of areas of life. I would like to I think I'm not the only one, that we've made strides since the 40s. But it's difficult when you pull back the covers on history to know what we did in the past and how far to go with it, because things can get really ugly. And I fortunately had a lot of help in researching this book, John Copenhaver and Edwin Hill in particular, with a lot of support and feedback. And, yes, you were going in the right direction. But when it's always a hard thing to look at the past and say, okay, how bad should I portray it? I mean, because when you look at religious intolerance or the issues with women's rights or LGBT rights, it could be really ugly. You want to be faithful to your period that you're writing about, but you don't want to be so ugly that you turn off a modern reader. So where is that line where you go, okay, I've done my due diligence. I'm not telling any lies, but I'm also not gratuitously delving into ugliness just for the sake of making it sensational or bringing some sort of spice to your writing or something like that. It's a really hard line to toe. Fortunately, I've gotten a lot of feedback that I did it pretty well, and I can't take all the credit for that, like I said, but yeah, that's hard. Really hard. Harder than you think.
Were there sort of red flags that you watched for that signaled to you that you might be approaching that point?
I did. I had people reading, especially when it came to language, because of course there were lots of ugly words used in the 40s to describe members of the LGBT community. And I didn't want to stay away from that, but I didn't want to get into it too excessively. So I would search for those words in my manuscript. And when it was when I crossed a certain percentage of words, and then who was saying them, like who were the characters who were saying them? Was it the character that really was an ugly character and was a murder suspect? And it's okay if he uses certain words because he's not a nice guy. Were my main characters, my protagonist in particular, and the supporting cast around her, how frequently were they using it? And I kind of had a level that I didn't want to go beyond for those characters, and an arc that I wanted to cover for them. And like I said, I had people read it and be like, what kind of vibe are you getting off of this? Are you willing to go along with this, or, have I kind of gotten a little bit excessive? And I have a critique group. They helped too with I don't think this is quite where you want to go, where they would say, I'm starting to get offended. And I could dial it back, or even in a couple places where my one critique partner was like, you haven't been nasty enough, like,
Yeah.
because that's you're downplaying a little bit too much. You could actually amp it up in this space. And they helped a lot.
That's really difficult. I was thinking about that recently because I was reading a couple of books set in World War II, and there would be a Black character, and the words that even the most progressive characters
Yeah.
of that era used sound jarred against to the modern ear, and you don't want to be placing 21st century dialogue into the mouth of a 20th century
Yeah.
character, but that's it's really difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. You kind of got to find and it's interesting because I'm toying with the idea of doing race relations in the next, not the book I'm working on that'll come out in 2024, but the one that comes out in 2025. And it's like, okay, you almost have to find the least offensive word to put in your protagonist's mouth, because she's not going to call them African Americans. She's not going to call them LGBTQ. They're going to use words that we just wouldn't use today,
Mhm.
but you don't want to overuse them.
Right. That
But
is
it
a
can
tricky
be
thing.
done, and don't be afraid to do it.
Yeah.
Like that's the other thing that I would say. It is hard, but I think it's work worth doing,
Mhm.
because if you want to be authentic and you want to show how it was, then you kind of, it was a conversation I had with my editor where she's like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sure I want to do this." And fortunately, I haven't heard any backlash. Maybe there has been. Maybe people have thrown the book against the wall, but they're not telling me about it. So
Well, let's use that as an opportunity to switch to the other question of what I learned, which is what did you learn from your latest book that you'd like to share with your fellow readers?
that readers, that they can have open mind. That I think authors sometimes, and maybe this is about authors, but this is about readers too. You guys are far more uh, forgiving than a lot of authors are afraid of. I think that the reaction to this book and the readers who have talked to me have been very positive, and that you're a scary group of people, but maybe not as scary as we authors are afraid of us. And it's actually been a very pleasant experience to know that readers are accepting, and readers can look at, it is possible for a reader to look at a book in the past and recognize that this is what happened and this shouldn't happen today, but it did happen back then. And understand that it's a thing that happened. This is reality. This was reality.
I was just going to ask if you could think of the first time you had an experience where that you had that aha of, oh yeah, that wasn't what I was expecting, and I'm pleasantly surprised.
I had a comment from a reader, actually, who's someone who read the book. I was talking about this, and I was talking about my fear as an author of, did I do this right? And I actually had a reader say, no, I really thought that you nailed it. I could very clearly see that you were taking your protagonist on an arc, which I was. She starts at point A and she ends up at point B by the end of the book. And the reader said, I thought you handled it very deftly and very balanced. And I appreciated the sensitivity that you used. And I was like, okay, there are people who, I mean, one, I did it. And two, there are people who got what I was doing. It was a very uplifting thing, because we all like it as authors when the reader gets what we're trying to do. So that was a nice comment. I appreciated that. It was always, you always kind of wait for those first reader reviews, like, what are they gonna have gotten it? And they did. And yay.
I'm curious how you got that. Was that written in a review, or was it from a beta reader, or what was the scenario?
It was actually an event where I was speaking and I was talking to the audience, and the reader gave me the feedback. It was via Zoom, but live.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I think it's interesting for readers to hear that because I think that sometimes readers don't fully appreciate how meaningful it is to an author to hear from
Yeah,
them,
it is.
especially if it's nice. But sometimes even if they have something, constructive critique, as long as it's presenting it in the right way, just getting that
Yeah.
feedback that, yeah, there's somebody out there and they're enjoying my work.
Yeah. There's somebody out there. There's somebody enjoying my work. There's somebody who gets it. And like you said, even if it's criticism, to have somebody give that in a constructive way to say, oh, well, it might have been better if, I got it, but this was a different way you could have done it. I mean, we all live in bubbles, right? We might have critique groups, but those are other authors. And I don't think readers sometimes really understand how much we crave that feedback, like how important they are. I've gone to a couple conferences where I'll meet people and they'll be like, oh, I'm just a reader. I'm like, no, there is no such thing as just
Yeah.
a reader, because without you, I'm a crazy one lady sitting in my dining room putting words on a page that nobody's ever going to read. The story doesn't actually take life until the reader picks it up. So, yeah, I think that this book in particular really reinforced that importance of the reader, of giving feedback. So, if you're a reader and you've never left a review, or you were afraid to tell an author that you did a really good job, don't be afraid, because we are all insecure people and we love that feedback.
Well, that is so great. I love both those perspectives, both the how you reached out to people when you were working on The Truth We Hide and how you appreciate people reaching out to you. So if people want to reach out to you, Liz, please let them know where they can go online to find out more about you and The
Uh,
Truth We Hide and everything you do online.
Easiest way to do it is to go to my website, which is www.lizmilliron.com. That's LizMilliron.com. From there, you can find a sign up sheet for my newsletter. I only send out a newsletter once a month, so I promise I won't spam you, as well as links to my social media. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, but the website has all the information about the books and everything that people could want to know.
Perfect. Thank you so much.